If you don't have leads flowing through your business in a consistent way, then what it means is that you don't have a business. The reason is for sales or constant revenue to flow through the business, which is the bloodline of every business, there need to be consistent signals of interest. Now, that is because before we get to the end goal of sales or revenue, then we need to be attracting customers. And before we get there, we need to be having conversations. And before we have conversations, then we need to have constant signals of interest or inquiries. And in this case, what we call leads. So in this video, we want to discuss 4 mistakes that business owners make in generating leads. And rather than strategies and tactics, we're going to focus more on the mindset level mistakes and how making that shift can radically transform your business. So if you're ready, let's get in. So the end goal that we are looking for here is sales. You can also say revenue. So sales or revenue, but in a consistent way, right? And before we can get to sales, we need to be attracting customers consistently. So here we say customers. And before we can get to customers, we need to be having conversations. And before we get here, which is conversations, then we need to be having inquiries or signals or leads. So we say leads. So you notice it starts from having leads, and then there are constant conversations talking about what their problems are, what their goals are, and then they become customers once they convert, and finally they turn into sales or revenue for the business. So remember, before we can ever get to this end goal, then the beginning point has to be flowing through the funnel consistently, right? Now, when you think about the picture of a funnel, you notice you have something like this, and you have the biggest area, the biggest part of the funnel at the top. And usually this represents leads. Now, so if leads are flowing into the funnel, then gradually we can have sales coming in at the end of the day. So what it also means is if there's not enough leads flowing here, then nothing is going through the funnel. So definitely sales is either going to be inconsistent or completely non-existent, right? So let's get into the mistakes. Now, the first mistake that many business owners and I myself made for a long period of time is waiting to be ready. Waiting to be ready. What does this mean? You know, if you're a perfectionist like I am, then you always want to prepare and over prepare to get things absolutely right before you go out into the market. But usually that takes away from the kind of mindset we need to have when we are trying to generate leads. Now, the reason is because the market itself needs to give us a lot of data. The market knows what it wants, and if we quickly go out there, we can answer certain questions that are important when generating leads. So yeah, though we need to prepare something, but it should have a limit. Instead of preparing to prepare and, getting ready to get ready, we quickly need to get out into the market and generate leads. And in this case, in quantities. And when we do that, we start to get more data from the market, and that data will then shape us. We get to optimize. So rather than waiting to be ready, rather we get into the market and we optimize to get ready. So the second mistake we'll look at is random over system. What does this mean? Many business owners treat lead generation like a campaign. So they'll start when sales dry up in the business, And when they have some prospects, they stop and run it randomly. But for you to have consistent revenue or consistent sales, then your lead generation efforts need to be installed as a system and not treated as a campaign. Now, remember, we spoke about the funnel idea, and you realize you have the biggest surface area at the top, and then it trickles down like that. So if you have leads that are flowing through the business, turning into sales, and at one point in time you have a cut, right? Then what it means is that only the leads that are within the funnel at a particular point in time have the opportunity to convert into sales, right? So there'll be no consistency down here then, because the business is treating it as a start and a stop system, right? So only those that are here at any point in time get to convert. So instead of a random approach, rather lead generation needs to be a system that runs in the business all the time. A third mistake we're going to explore is visibility over structure. Visibility over structure. What does this mean? Now, because of the age of social media, you have many business owners who make the mistake of over-focusing on the attention that's available on social media, and they neglect turning that attention or visibility into actual leads. So here, whatever visibility that you're generating on social media is supposed to end up creating leads for your business. So it starts from attention. It starts from attention, and this is where visibility resides. But it has to be paired with structure. It has to be paired with structure, and once there's structure, you can have leads, especially through social media. So the mistake many business owners make then is to stay here rather than build this, so that the pairing of these two concepts can then generate leads consistently for them. So when I say structure, what kind of structure then do you need to put in place? Now, I need to think about four main things. The first one is, what is your offer? You need to be offering something to the marketplace. So the reason you're even churning out content, if you do have a business and you're looking to generate sales on social media, is because you have a certain offer for the market. There's a problem you're solving, and you want more customers to solve that problem for, and in turn generate leads for your business. So have you thought about your offer? The second thing to think about is your audience. So there's a particular group of people that your offer can serve. So have you figured that out and even gone ahead to know their demographics, their interests, their psychographics, all of that, to be certain that this is a group of people that my offer serves best? So you need to figure out that. Then the third thing you need to have is a CTA, which is a term for call to action. And call to action simply means, what is the next step? For every visibility effort or content that you churn out, what do you want your people to do next? Especially because you want to have signals of interest out of the many people that you're speaking to. So that needs to be clear. If it's about filling a form, if it's about booking a call, all of these things needs to be clear. One clear call to action. And then the final thing you need to think about in terms of structure is a capture mechanism. So that's a way through which you actually record those leads. Now, because they are signals of interest, then what really you are generating is data. So data of people who are lifting their hands and saying, hey, I want what you have to offer, or I have the problem that you say you solve. So let's have a conversation. Yeah, so you need to think about these four principles in terms of setting up a good structure to turn attention into leads. First is offer, The second is your audience. Third is your call to action. And the final way is your capturing mechanism. The fourth and final mistake that we'll explore is quality over quantity. Now, what does this mean? Many business owners overemphasize and focus on lead quality, and that's understandable. The more quality that the lead is, the easier and faster that it can close. So that makes a lot of sense. And in fact, one of the pillars of growth that we'll be looking at is lead quality and how to ensure that the leads that come in are well primed and ready and fit for your offer or your business. But when we are talking about lead generation, you cannot ignore quantity. Now, remember, there's a funnel, and the biggest area is at the top, which means a lot more people need to enter into the funnel from the top, and just a few of them will end up closing, right? So what that means is the more volumes we are able to generate, then at the end of the day will determine how many we're able to close. So here what we are saying is we need quantity so that when it goes through the standard conversion rates that we are always going to have, then we are able to produce more leads. So remember, there's always going to be a conversion rate. There's no one who is able to close 100% of inquiries or leads that come through the business. So because of that, it's a good principle to have a system that generates in quantity. Because say I have a 10% conversion rate, which means for every 100 leads that I'm able to generate, 10 of them close into actual customers or sales. That means if I'm able to push up the number from 100 to say 1,000, then with the same conversion rate, I'm going to have 100 sales or leads closing. So because there's always going to be this conversion rate, it's a great strategy to then have a system that produces the leads in quantity too. And then in terms of quality, we start to put out a system that helps to filter these leads that come in so that at the end of the day, we have people who are good fits for the business. So don't forget, quality over quantity is one of the biggest mistakes. You cannot ignore generating leads in volumes if you want to have consistent leads and sales in the business. To wrap up, we need to start thinking differently when it comes to generating leads in a consistent way for our business. And more importantly, avoid these mistakes that we've talked about so that we can have leads flowing through the business all the time, creating more opportunities for the end goal that we are looking for, which is sales or revenue. So remember the mistakes. First, we talked about waiting to be ready before we go to the market. And then we talked about treating lead generation as some set of random actions rather than a clear system that is installed and runs consistently. Then we came to overemphasizing visibility over structure, especially on social media, and went through what kind of structure that we need to have so that for whatever attention that we gain on social media, it can turn into actual leads for us. And finally, we looked at quality over quantity, and we emphasize the importance of both of them and the fact that they need to work hand in hand. Quantity because there's always a conversion rate. So the more you can generate and apply that conversion rate, definitely you're going to have more leads. Okay, so we are still talking about the four core pillars that every business needs to have to create demand consistently. Now, what we've done is to build what we call the growth clarity test, which is a free assessment that helps you assess at what stage that your business is in or how well it is faring in installing these four core pillars that we are going through. So you find the link in the description down there. Take the test and see how well that you fare. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.